The Gaza Health Ministry reports that since October 7th, more than 42,612 Palestinians have been killed, including nearly 16,765 children. Updated figures also show that over 97,166 people have been injured, with 8,663 children and 6,327 women among the wounded. As the crisis escalates, thousands of Gazans remain missing under the rubble. In recent developments, at least 12 people have been killed across the Gaza Strip as Israeli bombardments continue on the first anniversary of the war, according to the Palestinian news agency Wafa.
هذا كل اللي صار ناس أبرياء يعني ولا مقاومة ولا شيء. 5 شهداء هاي اللي بيعملوا الاحتلال.
Israeli officials have revised the death toll from the October 7th attacks, reducing the number from 1,405 to 1,139. Meanwhile, more than 200 people were reported taken captive during the incidents. Lebanon's health ministry has reported a significant increase in casualties following a series of recent Israeli attacks. At least 15 individuals have been killed and 46 injured in the Mount Lebanon Governorate, while the Nabatea Governorate has seen at least 4 fatalities and 26 wounded. In the South Governorate, 3 people have been killed and 19 others injured. The latest updates bring the overall number of people killed from a year of war to 2,083, with a staggering 9,869 people reported wounded. The continued violence has heightened concerns about the humanitarian situation in Lebanon, as families mourn their losses and communities grapple with the impact of the ongoing war. As the situation develops, international observers are calling for urgent measures to address the escalating violence and to provide support to those affected by the attacks. The Lebanese government is facing increasing pressure to respond to the growing humanitarian crisis as the toll from the conflict continues to rise.
They marched in their millions for Palestine last weekend in the largest day of global protest yet. From London to Sydney, from Dublin to Dhaka, from Caracas to Jakarta, protesters poured onto the streets. In an exclusive roundup of the intercontinental protests, we bring you these reports from over 20 huge marches for Palestine. Nearly 1/3 people marched in London last Saturday in one of the biggest of the international series of demonstrations over the weekend. Organisers from the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, the Stop the War Coalition, the Palestine Forum of Britain, the Muslim Association of Britain and the Friends of Al-Aqsa claimed that 300,000 people were on the march, which took place just ahead of the year anniversary of the Hamas breakout from Gaza on October the 7th and the subsequent Israeli attack on Gaza. Journalist Sophia Thompson was among the marchers. She had this to say.
The government does not represent the people. I mean, like, as you can see here today, this is the true essence of what the sentiments of the UK are. Like, this is how everyone feels. So the government does not represent us. This is the majority of what the people in the UK feel. So,
in Rome, police tried to prevent protesters from marching through the streets of the Italian capital. Clashes broke out between pro-Palestinian protesters and the police, who attacked the marchers with tear gas and water cannon. Eventually, a compromise was reached, allowing the demonstration to take place, but only in the square where it was originally set to begin. In the Irish capital, Dublin, several thousand took to the streets waving Palestinian flags and chanting pro-Palestinian slogans. Rally organiser Zoe Lawler told reporters,
Well, we're here to show our unbreakable solidarity with the Palestinian people here today, to come out in huge numbers, and we're here to demand action from the Irish government to sanction Israel for its crimes against humanity and against the Palestinian people. It's been 1 year of genocide and 1 year of impunity, and that has enabled Israel to continue committing crimes. So we want action from the Irish government to stop blocking the legislation, enact the Occupied Territories Bill, the Illegal Israeli Settlements Divestment Bill, the Arms Embargo Bill, and to sanction Israel and cut all diplomatic ties.
Thousands of people marched through the streets of Paris against the ongoing Israeli military offensive in Gaza and in the Lebanon. The rally was addressed by left-wing leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon. A massed pro-Palestinian demo also hit the streets of the Greek capital, Athens. In New York, the streets were filled with Palestinian solidarity marchers. Academic and political activist Cornel West was on the New York march. He had this to say.
Well, my brother, I'm here to forever be in solidarity with people undergoing a vicious genocide. Dealing with ethnic cleansing is getting worse. It's been a whole year now, you know? And we got to keep fighting. We got to keep fighting them, man. Absolutely. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt.
Also in the US, pro-Palestinian protesters gathered in front of the White House in Washington, D.C. to demand an end to the conflict in Gaza and Lebanon as the war with the Palestinian territory nears the 1-year mark. Kayla Nemo, who lives in Washington, D.C., made this comparison between the way the politicians treat the war in Ukraine and the war in Gaza.
I've been really disappointed in hearing the change in rhetoric and the change in tone in these strong terms of condemnation against Russia and Ukraine versus the lack of strength in condemning Israel for its war crimes in Palestine. And I think that's been consistent with Biden, with Kamala, and with Republican candidates as well.
Israeli forces launched a deadly strike on a police checkpoint near Al-Aqsa Hospital in Deir al-Balah on the 1-year anniversary of the war on Gaza, marking a continuation of violence in the region. Al-Aqsa Hospital, one of the last functioning medical facilities in central Gaza, has become a critical lifeline for civilians. Early Sunday, another Israeli airstrike hit a mosque and a school housing displaced Palestinians in central Gaza, killing at least 26 people. The mosque located near the hospital was sheltering displaced civilians. The Israeli military claimed both strikes were aimed at militants, but provided no evidence to support the assertion.
At a closing press conference for the Organisation of Francophone States in Paris, French President Emmanuel Macron urged an immediate halt to arms deliveries to Israel. Macron emphasised the need for responsible international actions in the face of escalating violence and humanitarian concerns in the region. His comments reflect a growing unease among world leaders regarding the impact of military support on the ongoing war. The French president's remarks are part of a broader diplomatic effort to address the crisis and promote dialogue. As tensions continue to rise, the international community is increasingly calling for measures to protect civilian lives and foster peace in the region.
Nous essayons aussi d'être cohérents. Et lorsque nous demandons des cessez-le-feu, c'est le cas pour Gaza, ça a aussi été le cas pour le Liban la semaine dernière, eh bien, nous tâchons de ne pas demander un cessez-le-feu tout en continuant à livrer les armes de la guerre. Et je pense que c'est simplement de la cohérence.
Sue Gray has resigned from her position as Chief of Staff to Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, stating that she risked becoming a distraction. Her departure follows controversy surrounding her salary, which was reported by BBC News to be higher than that of Sir Keir, and donations from Lord Wahid Ali. A spokesperson for Downing Street confirmed that Gray, who gained prominence as the investigator in the Partygate scandal, will take on a new role as the Prime Minister's envoy for nations and regions. Labour has announced that Morgan McSweeney will replace Gray. McSweeney previously served as chief advisor to the Prime Minister and played a key role in Labour's general election campaign. Tensions have reportedly existed between Gray and Starmer's top political advisor, McSweeney, as well as among their allies. Some insiders believe the situation has become untenable, with one cabinet minister telling The Guardian one or both of them will have to go it's not going to be Morgan. Throughout the conference, multiple political advisors informed The Guardian that Gray controlled access to Starmer and the documents in his ministerial red box. However, an ally of Gray defended her, stating she was simply performing her duties. Gray has also faced criticism for reducing the number of special advisors, which some argue has left the civil service undermanned, particularly with no legislative affairs advisor to manage the significant number of bills the government aims to introduce. In contrast, other sources have praised Gray as personable, a problem solver, and someone who understands the workings of the civil service, which has been beneficial for ministers entering government for the first time. Aerial drone footage has captured the extent of the devastation in Kizilcak, a town in central Bosnia that has been severely affected by torrential rainfall. The floodwaters have submerged large portions of the town, leaving homes and streets underwater. Local authorities report that the flooding has led to the tragic loss of at least 14 lives in the Jablanica region of central western Bosnia. As rescue operations continue, officials warn that this number may rise as more information becomes available. Emergency services are working tirelessly to assess the damage and assist those displaced by the floods. Many residents are still trapped in their homes, and efforts to reach them are ongoing. As communities grapple with the aftermath of this natural disaster, the situation remains critical, and officials are urging residents to stay vigilant. The severe weather has disrupted not only daily life, but also essential services in the region. The drone footage highlights the urgent need for aid and recovery efforts, as Kizilcak and its neighboring towns face the daunting task of rebuilding in the wake of this catastrophe. Further updates will be provided as the situation evolves. President Kais Saied of Tunisia is widely expected to be re-elected, despite mounting criticism of his leadership. Saied's supporters view him as a savior who promises stability and began celebrating in the streets once the predictions had been released on election night.
جيت باش نحتفل بالانتصار اليوم بفرحة كبيرة اليوم ما توصفش اليوم الضربة القاضية. اليوم خرج الشعب التونسي وانتصر لشعبه ولبلاده. المرحلة القادمة ستكون مرحلة مهمة لأن ستستجيب لانتظارات.
Critics, however, accuse him of dismantling the democracy that Tunisia worked to establish following the Arab Spring in 2010. Out of more than a dozen hopefuls, only 2 other candidates were approved for the ballot, one of whom was sentenced to 12 years in prison just days before the election. Said, a former legal scholar, won a landslide victory in 2019, pledging to bring a new Tunisia with economic reforms and an end to corruption. His appeal, particularly among the youth, earned him the nickname the Professor. However, since assuming office, Said has suspended parliament, rewritten the constitution, and centralized power in what some describe as a self-coup in 2021. Tunisia, once hailed as a beacon of democracy, has dropped nearly 30 spots on the Economist Intelligence Unit's Democracy Index as political freedoms and pluralism eroded. Protests have erupted in the capital, Tunis, with demonstrators demanding free and fair elections, while opposition parties claim their members are being unjustly arrested. Tunisia's economic troubles also remain a key issue. With unemployment at 16%, many Tunisians, particularly the youth, are emigrating in search of opportunities.
مثلا تو انا عمري 17 سنه شوف نديدك انت عمره 25 سنه 27 سنه مش عامل حتى شيء باش تغزر شي مش تعمل انت باش تقعد لك كيما قاهر هكاك شنو نقول زعما نمشي نحرق خير اللي ما نقعدش في البلاد هذا تحرق برشا عباد حرقوا هكا عملوا وراقهم عملوا.
Said has blamed the country's economic woes on foreign actors and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa. His remarks have sparked anti-racism protests, with critics accusing him of stoking division. With little opposition left, the upcoming vote is being seen by many as a referendum on Said himself. However, turnout is expected to be low, mirroring the 11% turnout in last year's parliamentary elections. Said's re-election seems all but assured, but questions about Tunisia's democratic future remain. Amid the devastation of a year-long war, the Gaza Strip is presenting a glimpse of its archaeological treasures through a new exhibition at the Geneva Museum of Art and History, MAH. Titled Heritage at Risk, the exhibition features 44 artifacts unearthed from Gaza, representing what the curator describes as part of the soul of Gaza. The collection includes a diverse array of items such as amphorae, statuettes, funerary stelaes, jars, oil lamps, and figurines. These artifacts, owned by the Palestinian Authority, highlight the rich cultural history of the region, spanning from the Bronze Age around 3000 BC to the Ottoman period in the 19th century. The idea was also to show the diversity of this culture and the richness of the Gaza Strip, explained the exhibition curator.
Il y a 44 objets qui appartiennent à l'autorité nationale palestinienne, donc qui proviennent de Gaza, et on en présente 44 dans cette exposition, alors qu'il y en a plus de 530 qui sont ici à Genève depuis l'exposition de 2007, Gaza, la croisée des civilisations. Donc tous ces objets gazaouis n'ont pas pu repartir dans leur pays d'origine. Vu la situation, je pense que oui, c'est effectivement une chance qu'ils soient ici. Et on espère vraiment qu'ils puissent repartir et qu'ils puissent... leur place, c'est dans un musée en Palestine. Donc l'idée, c'était aussi de montrer la diversité de cette culture, la richesse de la bande de Gaza et de tout. Enfin voilà, donc on a des objets qui vont de l'âge du bronze, à peu près de 3000, jusqu'à l'époque ottomane, donc jusqu'au 19e siècle. C'est une partie de l'âme de Gaza, c'est même l'identité. Hein, le patrimoine, c'est vraiment l'histoire de cette bande de terre, l'histoire des gens qui l'habitent. Donc ce lien, il est vraiment très fort. C'est aussi pour ça qu'on a fait cette exposition. C'était pour dire, mais attention, il y a 135 pays qui ont signé cette convention de La Haye. Et ils sont tenus par un cadre et des lois internationales. On ne peut pas faire n'importe quoi. Quand on bombarde des sites, que ce soit archéologiques ou des monuments classés ou que l'on pille des collections privées, c'est un crime de guerre.
En cas de conflit, malheureusement, beaucoup d'agresseurs s'en prennent au patrimoine culturel parce que c'est évidemment effacer l'identité d'un peuple, effacer son histoire. Heureusement, il y a des musées, il y a des organismes, il y a des règles, des conventions qui protègent ces patrimoines. C'est vrai que le musée a depuis très longtemps, depuis 1939, a accueilli notamment les collections du Prado pendant la guerre civile, a accueilli les collections du Musée national de Kiev récemment, il y a 2 ans. C'est vrai que ce musée a comme tradition d'héberger des patrimoines, des collections, qu'elles soient nationales ou autres.
In addition to the items from Gaza, the exhibition also features artifacts from Sudan, Syria, and Libya, further emphasizing the interconnectedness of these ancient cultures. As visitors engage with these historical pieces, the exhibition serves as a poignant reminder of the cultural heritage that continues to endure despite ongoing challenges faced by the region. The exhibition aims not only to educate, but also to foster appreciation for the historical significance of these artifacts.